What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and we are here. This is the moment that I've waited for 5 months. I am going to be shooting the LEGO Book of Life showcase. Oh my god, I can't believe that I am shooting this video, man. This is just a crazy video that has been in production for a really long time. And I've started these figures all the way back in September of 2023. So yeah, some of these figures were done around New Year's. I wasn't allowed to put any of the figures I liked in New Year's because, of course, they are mostly 2024 projects, which they'll probably be in this year's New Year's, which is really crazy. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of talking because these are very interesting figures. Like, if I show you, they're not going to be minifigures like this. They're going to be semi-brick built, semi kind of big figs, I guess you could say. So I'm really excited to be getting into this. And it's going to be a pretty long video, so sit back and relax and let's get started with this showcase. So here is the first figure out of this whole showcase, and the first figure I made. Here is Manolo, and this is the figure that you guys have seen the most of. Like, in my 2023 recap, the only thing where you guys saw a pitch perfect photo of him is the only way that you guys actually saw what this whole showcase was going to look like. And he's very different, man. So before I take a look at anything or talk about anything, you guys probably want some size comparisons on how big this dude is, because he isn't the size of a minifig, okay? He is huge. And to get the amount of playability, accuracy, and everything with this dude, it had to be done like this. So of course there's compared to a minifigure, here's compared to a big fig. It's mostly in the middle. It's not really a minifig, but it's not really a big fig, but it's also not really a minifigure big fig like Mr. Incredible from the Incredibles video game. So it's mostly in the middle. So size comparisons out of the way. He is the only figure and one other figure that have the same proportions, so I basically copied the same body type for both of them, but the other figures are made completely different from each other. There's only 2 other figures that are kind of related to each other, but still a bit different. But before I talk about how I made this dude, let's take a look at his accessory, which is his guitar. And his guitar was fully sculpted, and before I get on into anything else, these are fully sculpted figures. I said it at the beginning of the video, but they're not really minifigures, okay? All their bodies and everything are fully sculpted. So yeah, let's get started with the accessory now. So here's his accessory. It's his guitar from the beginning of the movie, or actually kind of the second part of the movie, when he turns into an adult, which is really cool. And the size comparison, this to a minifigure, it's pretty big, man. And since he is bigger than a normal minifigure, then his accessory had to be bigger as well, because I couldn't use a minifigure guitar because I only had one, and that was for Jack Johnson, and I couldn't give it to him because it didn't fit for the size either. So yeah, so I just sculpted a guitar on top of a brown bar piece and then painted it. It looks great, man. I really love the detail I was able to capture on this. I added all the stripes all over this. The bone at the bottom, you can kind of see that, but I also added the hearts. They're very hard to see, but you can kind of see him in there. If you have keen eye vision, you could probably see it. But he also does have his mustache right here on the bottom, and also the guitar strings and everything. It's just a really nice piece, and it looks really nice. And of course the back is just pure brown. And I love the colors I was able to do with this. I couldn't paint the strings, so I just painted little bar pieces right here, which it sells the effect. I haven't really went back to been like, hey, I should paint the strings or anything, so they look great. Sculpted the top as well, and sculpted all that stuff, which, yeah, it looks really good. So there's his guitar. We're going to take a look at, I'll add it to his hand at the end of the segment, but of course we're going to take a look at the figure first. So here he is, and here is the original, because this is this is kind of different compared to the 2023 recap video. So here is the original figure that I made. And yes, the face is different. That's the big thing you probably noticed. Everything else is just a little bit different. The legs are a bit different and everything. I painted that on there. The arms and chest is a little different, but you can't even tell. It's mostly the face, which was the different part about this dude, which I was even very nervous on showing Manolo in the 2023 recap because I didn't want you guys to see anything about these figures. The fact that the only figure you've seen is this dude blurred in so many other things after the 2023 recap really says something about this showcase. So yeah, it's been really under wraps, but yeah, I'm very happy that we're here right now talking about it. So of course, here's his skeleton. This is mostly what I did. For his arms, I used clip pieces, and the clip pieces add effects like in the movie, so he's able to bend his arm. He can bend his arm, which minifigures can't do that. Yes, I know, it's a Mega Bloks, but just roll with it, okay? It's really cool, but just roll with it. Anyway, he uses clip pieces, which is really nice at the bottom, and he uses the end of the minifigure arm. So basically cut the minifigure arm off, put that in there, so he could rotate his hands and be like that, which looks great. And maybe his hands are much smaller than they are. I don't care. It looks really nice. So the other arms, almost exactly the same. I added the curlicues as well. Also, his actual arm up here uses a minifigure leg piece, which I did that so it's already boxy, the leg's already boxy, so I just cut off the bottom of the whole thing all the way up to the knee piece, and then after that I sculpted that in here in the whole body piece, which the whole body was sculpted. And I did that, and I basically just put the minifigure leg piece in here. There are 2 leg pieces, so I had to use 2 hips, so I could put both of them in here, obviously, but they look great, and they look awesome, and he just looks really cool. And his hip piece uses the skeleton hip pieces. So the skeleton minifigures that I've used, I've started using on more figures. Like some examples of this are some very random ones, but I use the skeleton hip piece on my Pac-Man figure, which is really cool, which I don't know, I'm still not really that happy on how that dude turned out. I've also used it on my OG crane. He's probably not going to be using the new one, but here's my original crane from my OG Kung Fu Panda showcase. He also uses the hip piece, the skeleton hip piece, which with these figures you couldn't really move the legs all the way up. Since they aren't covered, you're able to move the legs all the way up, which is really cool that you're able to do that, and I really love the amount of painting that I did down here. I did sculpt over the groin piece, as you guys saw with the others. It's kind of really bony in there, I guess you could say. There's just like a weird gap, so I sculpted over that so it could make it more seamless. I took 2 clip pieces as well, the opposite directions, and cut them down and made it more shorter so he wouldn't be as tall as he is, but I think it looks nice. I used the opposite clip pieces so you could get the down leg movement, so you're able to move his legs all the way around and move his leg up like this, which is really cool. So yes, you can get him down on one knee, which is really cool. It looks very weird down there, but you're able to do that, which is really nice. And then I took some Infinity, kind of Infinity War pieces and put them down there as well, and then sculpted over that with the feet, which look great. And I also sculpted those things on the side of his legs. And yeah, then I used a minifigure neck piece up here. So yes, you are able to put other minifigure heads up here so you can make it look really weird and strange and just kind of get cursed with it, which this looks really strange, but hey, this is compatible with Lego minifigures, like I said, so it's really cool. The head sculpt, incredible. Probably the best head sculpt that I've done in a while. This is really good. All the head sculpts in this are really good and everything, but he counts as my favorite because it was the first, and he does look nice. The face is different from the original, as you guys can see. I added white dots in the black pupils. That wasn't on the original, and I started adding those after I made my second figure. Technically my third, I'll talk about that later. But it looks great, okay? You really appreciate the amount of detail they add just with one white dot on a black pupil, which it looks great, and I really like it a lot. I love the effect of the mouth that I added for him as well. The curly Q at the top and his ears. Just everything, man. This head looks just perfect. I also added the ponytail on the back, and just looking at the paint job as well, all the little clouds that I had to paint on him as well, on the arms and everything, the curly Qs, like I said, on the side. Not as refined and small as they are in the movie, but you can't really get to that as small as this is. And obviously I took the skeleton piece and sculpted that piece down there to make it accurate like it is in the movie. The back also looks great, all this stuff. And of course, I also did paint underneath. You guys probably saw a minute ago, but I also did paint the inside because that is accurate. So it was just pink and red on the inside. You can kind of barely see that, but it's there. A much easier way to see it is it's also on the inside of the arm. So this is really not Lego. I know Lego would never print on the inside and stuff like that, but I know that no one would ever make a Lego Book of Life showcase because of how weird they are. So I decided to be the first one. And I only had an action figure, 3 figures in this whole showcase. I only had 3 action figures to base this off of. And that was a lot of help. I think the action figures really helped for the dimensions and everything. But the other 3, I didn't really have any. Of course, they're the Funko Pop action figures. But just this dude, I mean, even though you guys are watching a video right now and either the quality might not be as good or anything, this thing looks great in person, okay? If you see this in person, it looks great, okay? The video does not do it justice, but I also did add a bit of a gray wash in his hair. Forgot to mention that. But, oh man, he looks great. And I didn't have the swords on his back. I know he's supposed to have it like right here. And his guitar is also supposed to be like that, like in the movie and everything. But I didn't add that. I mean, I couldn't figure out how to do that in time. And I kind of just wanted to make him hold his guitar because, well, there's already another figure in this that's going to have something on his back. So who knows? You're going to have to wait for that later in the video. But, oh man, as a first figure, I did update some of the things later. But as a first sculpt, this was a great figure. And I really love everything about this dude. Anyway, that's it for Manolo. And now we're going to be going on to the next figure. So everybody after this, you've never seen before. So it's brand new. But yeah, let's get on with the next figure, which is, of course, going to be Joaquin. So here is the next figure, Joaquin, and you guys are probably saying he looks almost identical to Manolo, and because they use the same body type, and they look great. I mean, they look great, but of course I'm not going to go over every single little thing that I did with how to make him because I already went over that with Manolo. So I'm just going to go over the new sculpted details and everything else. So of course, his body, oh man, I love the metals I was able to add on this dude because he looks great, man. I mean, he looks awesome. I really love Joaquin, but he was probably one of the hardest. And when you look at all the figures and you're rewatching this segment again, you're going to be like, wow, how is he the hardest figure? And the reason is his face. You don't know how many times I repainted, resculpted, resanded, and everything. So here is the original face right here. And you can see from this to this, it's 2 completely different things. I didn't like how round I made the bottom, and I didn't like it at all. Then I just kept going back to it and back to it and back to it. It was weeks and weeks later, and then I finally came up with this expression, which, yes, after that, I was like, I still don't like it. So then I went back for the 5th time, and I finally got this, and I really like it a lot. It looks really close to Manolo, which is great because they're almost identical figures. They almost have the same exact face. And I love everything that I added to him. I love the mouth. I love the hair. The hair is the best part. And the way I was able to make his square head really looks great, and I love it. His ears look awesome. His nose, everything. And once again, this was sculpted on a cylinder, you could tell, but he does use a minifigure neck, but he does have a little sculpted thing around it because it is accurate to the movie. But he looks great, and I really like it a lot. So yeah, I sculpted the little pauldrons or something on his chest. I sculpted his little shoulder pads. Well, kind of these little things right here. I also sculpted his shoulder pads on top of the original kind of arms that I did for Manolo. I also sculpted in his little van braces at the bottom, I guess you could call them. And they look great, man. But you can probably already tell, we flip him around, he's very plain back here. And there's a reason why. He just doesn't have that much detail back here because of his swords. So these are actual minifigure swords. And I know they are a little bit tiny, okay? They're a bit tiny. They're not too tiny to where I needed to sculpt a new piece, but they are a bit tiny if you put them in his hands, which I'm being very careful with this because these are sculpted little tips. So there it is. I mean, it's pretty tiny, but Lego accessories sometimes are oversized anyway. So I feel like this works really well. And I really wanted to make it so you could put his swords in here. So I didn't really want to mess up the mechanism that makes that happen. So I just decided to keep it like that. And it looks great. Now, can you please let go of your sword? Thank you. But I just cut off the bottom piece and just did it like that. And yes, you're able to put his stuff in there. Not all the way down because of those pieces, but I mean, who cares? They're really nice. His legs, they look great. What I didn't realize is these hip leg pieces actually use the skeleton arm pieces. So I took like skeleton arms, which I have one right here actually. So I took these skeleton arm pieces, I cut off this, and since they have a bar, and since I used one of the actual kind of bar pieces, I guess you could say, like one of the bar clip pieces, they just slid in there. And I didn't know that with Manolo. I would have went with it, and it probably would have been easier than just sanding it and then sculpting it in there. And they look nice, and they're very seamless. And once again, he has the same thing, so he can stand on one leg. He can kneel down, but I don't know if he can stand on one leg. I don't think he can just because of his height, but he looks great. And this was also easier because Lego already makes white skeleton hip pieces, and I didn't use skeleton hip pieces in black for him. I used it in white for him, so I had to paint this, but I actually did use a black skeleton piece, so you guys are going to have to wait for that later. But he looks great, almost identical to Manolo. There really isn't anything new with him. He's just a bit beefier and everything, and he looks awesome. And I tried to capture the medal in there. You can kind of see it in there, but there is the medal of everlasting life, like it is in the movie. But yeah, uses minifigure hands, same body and everything, but wow. Really satisfying to make him and Manolo because, damn, they look really good next to each other. And it was much easier making him, but it was also harder because I had to make the same exact body as him. But he looks great. I'm really happy on how this turned out, and I love how I didn't go with the original face because it was just awful. So there is Joaquin, and now we're going to go on into the third figure, which is going to be Maria. So here is Maria Posada, and oh man, she was pretty fun and pretty hard to make. So she does come with an accessory, I guess you could say, but I'll show it off later because it's not really an accessory. You probably know if you've seen the movie who it is, but I'll show that off later. Here is Maria, and this is the first figure that used a different dimension type, different than Manolo and Joaquin. So with her, I had to use, this was really hard to make. So for Maria and all of the females in the movie, they are ridiculously skinny. And when I mean ridiculously skinny, I mean their arms are just really skinny and long. So I didn't know how to do this because if you take a look at a minifigure and you make those arms longer and stuff, it doesn't really look as skinny. So I thought of, hey, why don't I use a mini doll? So that's what I did. I made her out of a mini doll. So yes, there are no minifigure components on her. This is just a mini doll, which after making all the figures, mini dolls I have more respect for because they're really good. So here is Maria Posada, and I made her arms a bit longer. These are mini doll arms. So I guess if you guys want the dimensions of what this was, here it is. Here is her body. I used 2 Olafs. Yes, I used 2 Olafs for her. And I sanded 2 of them in half and basically sculpted them together. That's how I made her body. And then after that, I sculpted just everything down here and then put a plate down here. No, she cannot stand on any studs. Don't ask. It's not happening. It's just, I kind of used it as base, I guess you could say, but that's kind of what it was. And then I used the mini doll head because it was also the same dimension of Maria. And then just added a little bit more and sculpted her hair, which, oh man, this was the first thing I ever had to sculpt hair, which I am beyond happy on how this turned out. Like the hair, wow, this was my kind of second attempt, I guess you could say. Originally her head was a bit too long, so I took the bottom of the mini doll head and basically sanded it, which that worked out really well, which also mini dolls use necks. And yeah, they're weird for minifigures, but great for Book of Life, which you could clearly see their necks in the movie. It's pitch perfect. So here she is, and her face, oh man, like I said, holy cow, this is a great face, and I really like it. Just adding the white dot in there really makes it just pop. And just adding all of the sculpted pieces on her was really nice. She was one of the easier ones. It was just capturing her face, which was really hard. I had a pretty hard time with that, but I just took inspiration from Spider-Man because the eyes are kind of Spider-Man-y, if you see the movie. Just sculpting everything on here just looks great. The ears look great. The hair looks great. Removing the actual head so you can take a look at the body. It's pretty cool, man. It's really nice. The sculpted kind of dress down here was nice as well to make, and it was really fun to make her. And all the flowers and everything, I painted each individual flower, which looks great. I know it kind of looks disgusting up here, but that's where her head is, so yay. But she does use mini doll hands, so she is able to hold stuff if you like, which is pretty cool. I like that you're able to do that, so if you want, you can, I don't know, she can hold a bar piece because they are minifigure pieces, so yes, she can hit people with a bar, and that's nice. Her arms are probably my least favorite part about this figure. I mean, they're good, they're fine, it's just, I don't know, it's just really hard to capture how long her arms and skinny they are without the arms actually breaking. So, really great figure. The head is loose, and the fact that she can stand is incredible. Like, my God, she was also made out of an action figure, but if you have the action figure, she falls. And the fact that she stands is really cool. And just standing here next to Manolo just feels right. And Joaquin too, if you want to be weird. Even Joaquin, it's a great figure. I mean, Joaquin falls over, but yeah, great figure. And now we're going to go on to the accessory. I'm not even going to cut it or anything, but here is the accessory. We have Chewie, and he is the one exception of no Lego minifigure parts on him. I know, man. I know. He doesn't use any minifigure parts. Oh, boo, hoo. And yes, I know, he's fully sculpted. Okay, he's the only figure in this whole thing where you could legit say every single thing on him is sculpted. Yes, the eyes, everything was sculpted on him. And he looks great. I mean, he looks adorable and everything. Maybe I could have used a bar piece. Knowing that, probably could have done that, but who cares? I don't care really. I don't want to go back and resculpt his legs or anything, but just his face, man, oh, he looks great. Here's the original Chewie right here. He didn't look as good as this one. Made him much fatter and bigger. Also added the gold piece at the bottom. Looks great. I mean, the little tail too. I mean, he looks super cool and just really captures Chewie, and I really like that a lot. And the ears as well, everything, just, I mean, he looks awesome. Also added black dots on him. That's not a mistake. He has little black hairs in the movie, so I added that too. So, yes, Chewie's the only non-Lego component figure in this whole thing, but, I mean, who cares? It's just an accessory, so who cares? You could still put him on a base plate. And I know that you guys will probably see this whole video and be like, oh, why didn't you make Chewie? And I'm like, oh, I mean, who cares? I mean, he looks like the dude. Looks good with the figure. I'm happy. Anyway, now we're going to go on into kind of a different segment of this video. Let me explain more in the next segment. So here's the next part of the segment, and stuff after this is about to get insanely detailed, so prepare yourselves. But here is the three figures we've taken a look at, and these are the only figures that are going to be in the normal realm, I guess you could say. So there's what I was talking about Maria falling, but these are in the living world. So if you've seen Coco and you've seen Book of Life, you know that there's the land of the remembering, there's the land of forgotten, and in the Book of Life, there's the cave of souls. So these are the three spiritual gods. So that's kind of what this next segment's going to be. They're very not really size accurate. If you see these three and you see the movie, they're pretty size accurate. These next three, they're much bigger, but they're their own kind of type of category. They're in the same movie though, so I mean, this segment should be really useless, but I just say that before I get into the figures. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the first figure, which is going to be La Muerte. So, oh my God, La Muerte. Here she is. Just, oh my God, Jesus. Oh God, the movie design is incredible, but just the actual figure of making was so damn time consuming, it's not even funny. Okay. Oof. We got a lot of explaining to do. So here is La Muerte. Oh my God, best figure of 2024. Hands down, everybody get on your knees. This dude is the best figure in this whole showcase. By far. I mean, the showcase is still going, man. There's a reason why I showed her off first, is because of the Land of Remembering. But here she is, and this is the second version that I made. So here's the first version right here, and this compared to this is absolute trash. And yes, I still actually have the body of this figure, but I basically did surgical removing. So since my first figure that I made was Manolo, my second figure was La Muerte. I know I'm crazy. I should have saved her for last. And she was actually the last figure I made in the long run, but her original figure was made out of a minifigure torso. So here it is. You can actually see gray and stuff on here. This is just awful. I mean, the reason why there's a little bit up here is because, like I said, with Maria, the figures in the movie have necks, and it's pretty weird, but Lego minifigures don't have necks. I mean, they do, but it's very small. So with her, I really had to kind of improvise, because I tried to even sculpt the neck on the original so the head would go up a little bit more. It doesn't work, okay? It didn't work. It doesn't look nice. So I basically removed the hat, I cut off the torso, and then I cut off, the head was completely scrapped. I don't even have it anymore. I mean, I do. It just looks like something you see out of Planets vs. Zombies or some crap. So it doesn't look good. But here she is. She uses a mini doll as a base, a full-on mini doll. So if you could see actually in there, this whole thing was incredibly time consuming. So let's get started. So for her base, if we remove her, move up, here you go. It's a base. It's a Lego base. Once again, she can't connect. However, if you wanted to, she could connect by that little stud right there, so she could do that, but I mean, I don't really want to. These figures are just going to be on plain bases like this, but she does do that, and yes, oh God, yes. Every single flower you see here was fully sculpted, and that means 2 times, actually, 2 times, because this is bigger. This is a bigger base than the original, so I basically sculpted all the dots. Took me about 5 hours to do, to be honest. But I did it the first time. Then I scrapped it because I wanted to make it a bigger base and make it look nicer. So then I did it again. So basically 10 hours just sculpting this ring right here. And maybe I could have just sculpted a ring right here and then just put holes in there. Maybe it would have been better, but I decided to do this. And it was just so long and so hard, and I'm so happy I was able to do it. And yes, then after that, I painted the inside red and then went back later and put all the candles at the bottom and everything. She also does have a bit of skeletons around here, as you guys can see. She has some little skeleton heads, some blacks and whites. Looks great. I'm gonna kind of remove the head so you guys can get rid of this shadowing, because oh man, it's really hard to see. So yeah, let's just do that real quick. So there you go. Pretty easier to see, but as you guys can see, I sculpted each individual candle, painted it white, and then painted the orange tip for the flame. Her top piece right here, once again, sculpted all that up here, sculpted all the way around, and like I said, she uses a mini doll as a body, and then I basically took that, and then I actually sculpted the breasts. I used the male for this, so kind of forgot about that, but it works anyway. Then I sculpted her little shoulder pads, her little, I guess, cloth pieces right here, and then also her little flowers that she has as her thing. Also painted her necklace. And it's funny because you guys saw that photo. I completely forgot that up here was white and her arms were a little bit white. I just painted everything red and called it a day. I don't know why. I'm so glad I didn't use that figure though, but yeah, it's really crazy. Of course, once again, the neck looks ugly as hell, but now it's time to take a look at the head, because the head is like its own thing. Here's the head. The head is a mini doll head. I basically used a mini doll head piece under here and then sculpted the hair. The hair is actually a second sculpt. I have the actual original sculpt right here, because for so long I tried to just take this head and put this in the back, which that didn't work because this was already dry, and you can see it's its own piece by this point. That was a waste, by the way. And then I didn't really like the hair sculpt anyway, so I basically took that and I went on the back, which I sculpted all that hair and everything, and it looks really nice. You can barely see in there and everything, but it looks nice. The face, oh man, the face, just what an incredible face for just how barely you could see it. The first expression was awful. It looked hideous. So I did that, and then I sculpted her little flowers right here and here. Looks great, man. I really like it, even though you can barely see it, but it looks like her, which I really like. And then I sculpted these little pieces that go all the way around on her hat. And the original hat was a sombrero piece, which I already showed you guys some sculpted photos. But here's the OG sculpt of the original. This isn't the new one because the new one's completely different, but this is the old head. So I basically used the sombrero and just kept sculpting on it over and over until I got it this big, which is crazy. So then I went over, sculpted all the skeleton heads. They go all the way around. It's really crazy. And then also, on top of that, sculpted the petals on the inside as well, and then sculpted the little feathers, the leaves as well, sculpted 3 candles, and then I went around and yes, I sculpted each individual candle again. Oof, that was a lot. Anyway, that is La Muerte, probably my best figure of 2024. There's a reason why I kept this so under wraps, because if people figured out I was making this detailed of a figure, people wouldn't shut up about it. So I'm glad I didn't bring you guys' hypes up by showing the teaser, but also did because, oh man, this is a great figure. So there is La Muerte, probably the best in this whole video. I don't know. You guys are going to have to judge yourself by the end of this video. So there's La Muerte. Now we're going to go on to the second to last figure, which is going to be Xibalba. All right, here is Xibalba. This is technically the last figure that I made for this whole showcase. La Muerte was the second figure, but with all the sculpting and painting and everything, she did take to be like the last figure basically to make, but she looks great, and oh man, Xibalba also looks great. I mean, I couldn't think I would do it, but I did. And he looks incredible, so yes, everything on him is fully sculpted again. So for his base, I guess if you guys want to know how I made him, here's his whole skeleton right here. I used a black skeleton for his base because he has very skinny arms in the movie, very skinny. They're like bone arms. So since LEGO already makes these very skinny black bar pieces, I decided to go with that. And it looks good, man. It looks really good. I really love that I was able to use that as a base because I didn't really know what to do with him. And I love that I did that because it looks really good. And I like that a lot. So I used that, and then once again I used another one of the bases for the bottom. Kind of the same thing I did with Maria. And then I basically did that. And then I used a cylinder as a headpiece, and then I sculpted all the details that you see on his head, which is really crazy. But first off, I guess what we'll do is we'll get rid of his snake staff, which I kind of don't want to get rid of it, but I'm going to do it for YouTube because if you guys know, Lego doesn't make any purple staffs, so this was painted from gray. You can kind of see that from there. But here's his staff, and this is, of course, the double-headed snake staff. If you've seen the movie, this has a major part in the movie. Of course, killing Manolo and sending him to the land of the remembered so he could reunite with his family because he thought Maria died. Anyway, it's a long story. Go watch the movie. But, of course, I made the staff a bit longer from down here. You can really tell, but, yeah, staff's a bit longer. I added the two-head snakes, which, man, oh, man, they look great. They look really great, and I love the detail I was able to do that, and it's really nice, man. It's really nice staff. So there's the staff. We're take a look at it a bit later on the figure. But here is Xibalba, and oh man, he was another figure that was hard to make. Probably not as time consuming as La Muerte. He probably took me like 4 days to make. But his wings, let's get rid of those because they're the biggest part on this dude. So his wings use clip pieces on the back. So yes, like Lord Shen, this is the second figure that has Lego kind of feather components, I guess you could say. My old Lego Lord Shen. I don't know if I'm going to add a new one or anything, but who knows. But here is the old one. Like I said, he uses kind of clip pieces. I can't really say Lord Shen anymore because, well, Manolo and everybody else in the showcases uses clip pieces, but getting rid of his wings so we can take a look at the actual figure later. His wings, I used 3 different colors of black on this dude. I used a matte black, a shiny black, and a black with a gray wash. So you could get the weird feather effect, which these were fully sculpted by me. Very incredible I was able to do this. You probably can tell by the piece. This is actually the same piece I used for the all of the Book of Life characters, all of their arms and stuff used the same clip connection piece, which is really cool. But they look great, man. They are really great wing pieces, and they look awesome with the gray wash and everything. And they look great. He does, of course, have clips on the back of his back, which look awesome. But removing those right now so we can take a look at the actual figure. Oh, man, his face. Jesus. This was sculpted by Scratch, which, if you guys didn't know, but I painted his neck green. I added these black little spine pieces from his skeleton. I added these purples and these teals and greens and blacks and everything on his thing so I could capture the detail that Xibalba has in the movie. For the convenience of my this from breaking, I'm not going to remove the head. I would so you guys can see this, but I mean, he is just... This head is very, very fragile. You can really see by these individual pieces of sculpting. Like, look at this. Look, they move. That's not good. They are very, 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 very breakable. So I'm not going to remove his head. Of course, you guys can already see head sculpts and everything right over here anyway. So it looks great. You can really see in there all of the detail that I added, the little bone effects. You can kind of barely see it in there, but I did add them. There is effects in there. They look great, and they look awesome. And, of course, I also added the little bit of the teal on the arms and everything, and the little skeleton heads, which look great. I also sculpted all of the kind of thing down here. It looks gross, but it's like that in the movie. Just the eyes and everything. Just, it looks great. I love Xibalba. He's a great figure and he looks awesome. Of course, I sculpted the beards and everything and he looks awesome. Of course, Xibalba was a bit easy because he was the third to last figure that had an actual action figure made for him. Everybody else I had to look up online from actual art and what people made from him. So, yeah, there's Xibalba. He's not as detailed as La Muerte. Yeah, I know he's not, but, I mean, who cares? He still captures the whole figure, so it's a win in my book. Sorry I couldn't remove the head for you guys, but just, he's super fragile, okay? He's very fragile. I do not want to break this dude because A, I'm shooting a video, and B, I mean, he's going to go on display anyway, so it really doesn't matter. So there is Xibalba. What a great figure. I mean, just, my God, holy cow. And putting him next to, sorry, I bumped the camera, but putting him next to La Muerte, they look really good next to each other. So, finally, after 5 months, we have the very last figure which is going to be the Candle Maker. So here is the last figure we have, the Candle Maker. And yes, he is a big fig. He is a big figure. This is a big fig. It's really crazy that I used a big fig for this. I always knew that Candle Maker was going to be a big fig, but I didn't actually think it was going to be in this video because basically destroying a big fig, I don't have millions of big figs laying around. It probably seems like that because I made Man-Thing, which was my other sculpted big fig, but basically just tearing apart big figs from like scratch, I don't really have that many, so I was very scared on making this dude, but thankfully I was actually able to wreck a sculpted big fig that I actually made. So a year ago, I guess you could say a year ago, around I guess November of last year, I made a sculpted big fig of Dr. Eggman, and I'm basically going to show you some sculpted images on how I made this dude. I basically took a sculpted big fig, I cut his legs off, and then after that I sculpted basically a base for him, which was basically his body, and then I took his head off. I used a bunch of tinfoil for him. I don't know why, but I did, and that's kind of where it showed up and everything. So I did that, and then I sculpted some little legs for him and everything, and that's how I ended up with this Dr. Eggman. But I mean, Lego came out with their own Dr. Eggman, which I still haven't picked up to this day, and I haven't done any set reviews on that yet, but they picked up their own. It looks really good. I like it a lot. And I tried to base the big fig off Lego Dimensions, which their big fig is much better than mine. So I scrapped the figure, okay? I ripped the legs off, and then I put a brick at the bottom of his legs. He uses a brick. And then after that, I sculpted a little bit of his body right here back in November, and he is the reason why I ran out of Sculpey. Yes, he is the reason why I ran out of Sculpey originally, because this image right here was a little bit of the last bit of Sculpey, because I was on a Book of Life roll. I worked on Manolo, I worked on La Muerte, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I was just thinking, I'm like, how do I make Candle Maker? I have a good idea what he's going to look like. Here we go, yay! And then I just ran out of Sculpey. So I only had a little bit left to make Krampus. So the reason why I said all that stuff about losing Sculpey, no Christmas showcase and everything, is because of this dude. So after 4 months of waiting, I finally decided I had enough Sculpey. I had like 3 packages of Sculpey. So I was like, okay, I'm finally going to make him. And oh man, he used a lot of Sculpey. So from looking at that image to that image, it's a bit of a change. So I basically sculpted his whole body, sculpted his beard, and sculpted everything on top of that. And I also sculpted his little candle wax down here and everything. I added different colors of yellow just to make it so he has like a yellow up here, and then he has like a brighter yellow right here to make it look like he's glowing, which looks great. I love it a lot. So he uses big fig arms, so just removing that for a second so you can actually take a look at his whole body, because these are just big fig arms with just sculpted fan braces. So just taking a look at this whole thing is just incredible. He's thick, he's heavy. He is really heavy. And I love because he already had he was already thick, Dr. Eggman. So I just made him a little bit thicker, and I also used Dr. Eggman, the other arm piece, because I sculpted these arm pieces for Dr. Eggman. The other arm piece was used for Cyborg Spider-Woman. So yeah, there's a bit of trivia for you, but I canceled him. You've never made a video. I never made a video on him because he was going to be for a Sonic showcase, but then Lego came out with their own. So I just decided, who cares? I'm not going to make any. So yeah. This is a Lego piece. This is like a Lego tile piece. It was a perfect square. I was like, yes, I'm going to use it. Boom. I put it on there. It looks great. I sculpted all these things on here. It was kind of the same thing I did with La Muerte. I just kind of made it a bit more scrunched and everything to make it look like clouds, because he is made out of clouds, candles, and wax, which is really cool. Then on his back, he kind of just has the big hunchback and everything. He's really big, as you guys can see. And the inside, it's just really messy, but you can't really tell because he uses big fig arms, which, yeah, I was thinking about making these a bit less hulky, I guess you could say, but I mean, I kind of tried to capture a little bit of Lego's effects, so there you go. I mean, it looks great. It looks awesome, so yeah. Anyway, I went over and I painted all of the detail on his necklace, and it's almost exactly the same on his van braces, which looks great. And yeah, these arms were actually Bane's arms, which is really crazy. So yeah, there is the candle maker. Probably pretty simple to make. Oh, I forgot to mention his eyes, his mouth look great. Love his teeth. I had that in mind. I was always going to make him like that. So there he is. That's really it. You can already see by this. He's just heavy. Okay, he's really heavy. Anyway, so that is it for the candle maker. And now, finally, we are going to wrap up this showcase. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys stuck till the end, thank you so much. I mean, I know this isn't as big as the Kung Fu Panda showcase because right now I'm already at making about 2, 4, 5. I'm already going to make about 6 figures for that showcase, but this was very different, okay? This was a very different showcase to attempt. As you guys can see, they were very difficult, all right? La Muerte and Xibalba were just very hard to make, as well as Candlemaker. I mean, every figure in this whole showcase was a pain to make. I mean, I love every figure, don't get me wrong. It's just, they were really hard to make. And the fact that they turned out great and everything really puts a smile on my face. And I love how I went back to La Muerte to make a new version, even though I knew that it was going to take me a really long time to do and everything. But just putting in all the hard work and everything for these figures was just great. And I'm not probably going to make any more figures from this movie, even though this movie turns 10 years old. If you guys want me to, and if this video does really well, I will consider on making a part 2 to this video where I might make Dead Manolo and maybe some other figures from the movie around maybe October when this movie turns actually 10 years old, because this is the year 2014, but it turns 10 years old in October the 1st, which it's January. It's like the beginning of the year. So of course, if this video does good and I feel like in the mood to make more figures from this movie, I will make them. But I'm pretty stoked on just these 6 figures itself. The Kung Fu Panda video, I don't know when that's going to be coming out. That's my next project I'm going to be working on. But I do have some little small projects maybe planned for you guys. And I don't know, maybe some set reviews in the future. Who knows? But yeah, that is it for this video. I know it was pretty long, but I had a lot to say about these figures and everything. So yeah, of course, if you liked the video, leave a like down below. Consider subscribing. Turn on all the post notifications, and yeah, I will see you guys whenever I see you guys. I'm probably going to take a massive break after this, but after I said that, I decided to work on Book of Life. So yeah, that's it, and I'll see you guys later.